One of the booby traps that's implanted in our language is the term the news. As if there is one set of events that we can all universally agree upon are the set of events, the news, that took place today that everyone must talk about. Think about what that implies. Who gets to choose what is the news? And why do we insist on everyone that we consider to be in the news sphere to talk about the same set of events? I bring this up because it strikes me that in the event of any major the news type of event, people are always seeking my comment, my take on it, and that's understandable. I get why that happens, but I think there's something insidious to that phenomenon, because in the alternative media, people like to think or believe, well, yes, the MSM propaganda media is going to cover the news this way. Well, we're going to show how they're lying or where they're wrong or where the agenda's gone. But it's still the fact that the MSM, the editors at, MSMBS, get to set the agenda that everyone's going to talk about by presenting the news. And sometimes there are spectacular events that one cannot avoid discussing. And for me, these are the events like 9/11 that clearly did change people's perception of the world and did enable a number of agenda items to move along. Of course, it didn't fundamentally, the world was on a certain path and all of that, but it was certainly the catalyst for a lot of different things. But I think people get so caught up in the day-to-day flow of the news that, again, is being picked for your consumption in some office, by some editor at some MSM publication. People get so caught up in that they miss, I think, the bigger picture of what's happening. And that's detrimental, because if we do not take it upon ourselves to really interrogate the overall narrative and see what fits into or does not fit into that narrative and where it's trending, that's where I think the real value of something like the Corbett Report lies. Because it has been pointed out to me on several occasions in the last few weeks alone how seemingly relevant some of my old work is to what's happening today.
Oh, no. I want to make sure we get this. You are being gamed. I love that video. That was awesome. All right, go ahead and fill us in on that one.
All right, thank you. Well, that was a podcast that I made 7 years ago, so it's looking pretty prescient. It's from 2010.
No way.
But, yeah.
That was 7 years ago?
That was 7 years ago. We just made the video version, so we posted that video version up. But the podcast itself was from 2010. So, I know what I'm talking about. I know what's coming down the pipe. Now, I dare say that if you go and pick up a newspaper from 7 years ago, you're probably not going to read a story that's so relevant to what's happening right now, because of course they're reporting in that little box of the news, and this is the way we see the world, and this is the thing that everyone must talk about today, and we'll all talk about something different tomorrow. Whereas an outlet like the Corbett Report can be an exploration of the larger issues that are going to be affecting us however many years down the road. And it's happening time and time again now that I see these events playing out in the news that everyone is now talking about, that I covered this years ago. We talked about it already. The revolution will not be YouTubed, and I've done several reports on that. The social media exodus is happening, and all of this. And now suddenly people are talking about the YouTube crackdown, and now suddenly people are like, oh, we need a YouTube alternative. I'm glad there are people like Ray Vahi and others out there who heard the call at places like the Corbett Report and Media Monarchy and doubtless other places, but heard that call and created BitChute as a result. We need a decentralized alternative peer-to-peer platform for doing what YouTube is supposed to do. And here it is. Yay. Now that's how this, I think, ideally should work. There should be people like myself and others out on the watchtower looking at those big issues and trying to present that to the public. And then the public takes that on board and creates their own solutions to that in whatever way they can. That's a wonderful system. The alternative to that is the alternative media just constantly chasing the tail of the MSM dog, oh, today we've got to talk about this car ramming in some, over here. And, oh, today Antifa versus the alt-right is the biggest story in the world. What is this Canadian and Japan's take on it? You are being programmed. You are being programmed to think that these events are the events that really affect your life. Take a look around you. Maybe they don't affect your life. Maybe they aren't the most important things for you personally. Who is deciding that? Is it you? Is it you who's deciding what the most important thing in your life is right now? And if the answer is no, then maybe you've got to think about where you are and what's happening and what is in your control and what is beyond your control. And what are you looking for when you turn to an outlet like the Corbett Report? These are some big ideas, but I just want to stake my claim in the ground yet again. I've done this before, but I just want people to think about the fact that there is no such thing as objectivity when it comes to news and news reporting, because even what you choose to talk about and what you don't choose to talk about is itself an editorial decision that will frame everything. And if the MSM gets to frame that discussion and tell you what the news is, they get to direct your attention this way or that way. They may get you to think that this is the biggest issue and we all need to be thinking about this, but don't think about this. And my role, I see it with increasing clarity now, is to be that person on the watchtower looking at the big agenda items that are coming along the road. It's, the latest car ramming in and of itself is going to be hot news for 24 hours until everyone forgets about it. But the driverless future is going to be something that we're all going to be living through for the years and decades to come. That's a tectonic shift that is taking place that has great relevance. And what I say about that will have relevance years from now, whereas what I say about the latest news regarding this or that event will have relevance for maybe 24 hours. I'm not saying that there's no value to news reporting. I'm just saying that we have to keep our eye on the bigger prize as well. And certainly for the Corbett Report and the work that I do, I think the value that I bring is in the bigger picture. And on that note, some big picture items coming very soon on this channel. Please stay tuned. James Corbett, CorbettReport.com.